Hello and welcome back to the VIP-bet DFS Premier League podcast. We've been doing live streams a little bit lately, but this is a pre-recorded one where we're going to talk to you guys about the breakdowns of scoring. So without any further ado, we'll just jump into the screen where you can see what we're talking about. This is the official DraftKings.com/help/rule/sock, which I believe is short for soccer or football for anybody listening in the UK. I've been told by some of my English friends that every time you use the S word, a British child dies. Um, but jumping straight into the scoring stuff here, we're going to basically go through each of these statistics, tell you who it applies to, so which positions, and what the actual statistic means, and who is currently leading the Premier League in it, just so you get a sense of what positions you can target for some of these statistics. I will just jump straight in with goals. Goals pretty self-explanatory, but when the ball hits the back of the net. So anytime anybody scores and their team goes up 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1, anytime a goal is scored, you're going to get your 10 points. Currently, the league leader in the Premier League is Romelu Lukaku with 7. Obviously, there are other options there. Kane, for example, is on 6. But those are the kind of the players you want for are forwards. They're more likely to score. They're further up the pitch. Therefore, they are going to be the ones that score more of the goals. In other formats, midfielders get more points for goals. Defenders get even more points for goals. Not so in DFS. So you really want to fill those forward slots with forwards because they are more likely to score and they aren't punished at all point-wise for being forwards who are scoring a lot.
So on to me for assists. Assist is basically the guy who passes the ball last to the guy who scores the goal. This does apply in certain formats. I know certain formats award the foul taker, whoever's fouled, and then somebody else takes the penalty kick. They are not awarded in this format for that. So be heady of that. They are awarded in other formats. So basically, assists are worth 6 points. As it relates to the Premier League, the leader right now is David Silva, sitting on 6 assists. Basically, you really want a midfielder, probably a facilitator, a guy who's going to run the whole field for their team and basically control the pace of play. Those are the guys that are usually the assist guys, i.e. David Silva, who's basically leading the line in assists for Man City, the highest scoring Premier League team. So basically, when you want guys who, to garner assists, look David Silva's way or someone of the ilk.
Yeah, exactly. The attacking midfielders are usually the players you want to target for assists. There are wing players, but we'll get to them in a little bit in the statistics they provide. But for assists, as Rob said, you want players that often play close behind the striker. Like he said, Silva for City, Eriksen for Tottenham, Özil when he's fit for Arsenal, Mata for Manchester United, that kind of player that sits in a recessed position right behind the forward. On to shots on target, or shots on goal as it's listed on this website. A shot on goal is anything within the frame of the physical goal. DFS and DraftKings do not count shots that hit the post. Some sites do. DraftKings does not. So anytime a shot is saved, basically, it's also a shot on target because the goalkeeper had to stretch to save it. So for shots on target, right now it's Harry Kane, I believe. Yeah. I skipped shots. Sorry. I skipped shots. But to be fair, both of them are Harry Kane, so I'll just kind of cover both of them, I guess. A shot is any attempted finish. So anytime a player shoots the ball either at the goal or past the end line, that's classified as a shot. Harry Kane does lead both of these statistics. Shots, Harry Kane has 44. Shots on target, Harry Kane has 16. So again, a shot, anytime you put the ball past the end line, whether it be in the goal or not. Shot on target, anytime it forces a save. And obviously forwards, just like with goals, more likely to get those than not.
So on to crosses, since Kevin covered both shots and shots on goal. The leader right now is Aaron Cresswell, sitting on 69. 69 crosses for a Premier League defender is phenomenal return. Yeah. They are worth plus 0.75 points per cross. That comes via corner kick, open play, or set pieces. Basically, what a cross is a pass coming from the wide side of the field, which is the left or the right of the goal, to the center of the goal, that either their player touches first or it counts as an assist, basically. So basically, a cross can count as an assist also. So a successful cross is someone who crosses the ball from the right or left side to the center of the box, and their player touches it first. That is the classification of a cross. You basically want wing players on this. You want wing defenders, you want wide side midfielders, And there are some forwards that get involved in set pieces and corner kicks. But basically, keep an eye on the set piece list. If you do have information or you follow some kind of statistics venue, they'll lead you down the yellow brick road of DFS fantasy there. But basically, you want guys who are wide side players to monopolize on the crossing metric.
Yeah, you can just Google set piece takers, and I'm sure you'll get multiple sites that pop up telling you who's currently taking most of the set pieces for which teams. For fouls drawn, it's anytime a player fouls you. So anytime play is stopped because somebody has made illegal contact with you, whether it be tripping you or shoving you or anything like that, maybe catching a elbow to the back of the head that's deemed unintentional. On headers or aerial duels. Currently, person leading the league in fouls draw is Della Ali with 25. You just want somebody basically that is often known to play in tight spaces. So Della Ali will run at his man directly, and then that forces them to react some way. Either he beats them, or they often have to get physical to prevent him from getting into a more dangerous position. Della Ali, a very good example of that.
So on to fouls. What am I on? Fouls
conceded.
Committed?
Yeah.
Conceded. So basically, these are guys that are go in the no-no book. These are guys who basically, what Kevin just said, these are the guys who do that to that person. You get minus 0.5 points. The leader currently in the Premier League is Oriol Romeu for Southampton. He's a holding midfielder, which is more the defensive midfielder. So he's around the ball a lot when the pace of play dictates him being around the ball. You don't really want a lot of guys who are, usually getting a lot of fouls. It's not a good thing. This is not a good stat here. Every time you see a minus in front of a stat, it's never anything good for accumulating points. These guys usually are, holding midfielders or, defenders that are not very good man-marking defenders. So when you look at their player pages, individual player pages, it does line up their stats and shows you who does what and how many they do. So basically stay away from holding midfielders and Jose Halabas.
That is for darn tootin'. Also, Norton Amrabat, who is no longer in the Premier League, was often the most heavily fouling player, even though he was a winger. It was very, very strange. On to tackles one. That's when somebody has to do a formal tackle. So when a player is in possession, they take possession away from that player, which is different than an interception, which we'll get to right after this. For tackles one, currently the leader is N'Golo Kante. Immediately behind him, Idrissa Gueye. This has been the case for the last 3 seasons. So if you're looking for this statistic, those are the two guys that are definitely going to be there in central midfield, as you talked, sitting a little bit deeper as true defensive midfielders, waiting for people to run at them like Adela Ali, but instead of fouling them, are capable of taking the ball from them and redistributing it to their own team.
So on to passes intercepted. This is one of the categories that doesn't involve goalkeepers here because it only involves defenders, midfielders, or forwards. It's a 0.5 points in your favor here. These are guys you want who are good defensively or in position to basically intercept the ball. It's much like American football where a guy catches the ball thrown from the other team. Same situation here. It's basically a guy on the other team intercepts the ball or a pass or a shot or gets in the way of the play from the other team and takes possession for his own team. So guys like Nacho Monreal and Steven Defour are lead the Premier League right now with 22.
Which shows you that it can happen at multiple levels of the pitch. Defour, obviously
absolutely.
a midfielder. Monreal currently playing in defense. Well, central defense, but we won't get too specific on that for now. Yellow cards are what happens after fouls that are committed if they're too severe. You'll be given a yellow card. 2 yellow cards equals a red card. If you're on some sites, it'll be YTR, which is yellow 2 red, which will show the difference between 2 yellows equaling a red and a straight red. But currently in total yellow cards, it is Pablo Zabaleta and Jason Punchin, kind of like what we just did, defender and a midfielder, currently leading the league in yellow cards. After 5 yellow cards in the Premier League, you do pick up a suspension. Not as big an issue in DFS because you obviously know when players are available and when they aren't. But just keep an eye on that to see if players are already on their 4th and then know to eliminate them for the following week.
So after yellow comes red. It's basically the stop sign that you are not playing in the game anymore. It's minus 3 points. It's usually for severity of fouls or accumulation, as Kevin mentioned. It's minus 3 points. Basically, You don't want any of these guys. There's a ton of guys that have one red card. Kyle Walker is one guy. I know he's leading the league with one, but there's other guys that have it. Basically, if you get a red card, you're suspended. Depending on the severity of it, that goes to a bureau or tribunal or whoever dictates the rules and such of that. You basically miss the next few games depending on the severity of the foul. So if a player gets a red card on your slate and you get minus points, you're not only losing him for that game, but he's no longer able to be selected probably for the next slate if he is such on it.
Yeah. It's a generally it's a 3-match suspension for a straight red card, one match suspension for 2 yellows leading to a red. But as Rob said, severity can make it much worse depending on intent by the player. Next up is a penalty kick miss, which unfortunately Jamie Vardy has had several times. It's a -5, only one this season, but you want to avoid players with low penalty conversion rates because a -5 is one of the heaviest points deductions you can have in any format. So just be careful with that, because in theory, when we mentioned looking at set piece takers earlier, you do want whoever's on penalties because it'll tend to just be free goals. But if they don't have a high conversion rate, it can hurt you. So it's very high risk, high reward for your penalty takers. Like I said, it's -5 points. Jamie Vardy currently leading the league with 1.
Yeah. So the last category for the field players is clean sheet, and that only classifies for defenders. It's +3. Basically, a clean sheet is when the team that they play for allows the other team to score 0 goals. That is what a clean sheet is. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically going nil or shutting them out, or basically any term that you want to use that you're familiar with where it relates to 0. Guys who are good at this, Manchester United defenders, basically Antonio Valencia and Phil Jones are leading the league right now with 6. So if you're looking for that kind of metric from your scoring, look for teams who are more proponent for a defensive score, better defenders. They are the teams that usually have more clean sheets. And, if you do like to lump them in, goalkeepers and defenders with clean sheets go nicely together. It's like, soap and a towel, soap and water. It's kind of, they go together like that.
Yeah, as we've mentioned on our other shows, if you've watched them thus far, you tend to want to pair a defender with a goalkeeper from your same team, because if you think it's going to be a good matchup, it's a good matchup for both your defender and your goalkeeper. Going to them with saves, a save is, as we mentioned earlier, any shot on target that does not go in. The goal means the goalkeeper has parried it or caught it. It doesn't matter which he does, just prevents it from going in, and that counts as a save. Currently, Lucas Fabianski has the most saves and the most shots faced. The impressive thing about this is you get +2 points. So even if they're not on a great team, you can get great values as long as they're preventing the ball from going in their net frequently. At least at a 1-to-1 ratio. Is obviously net neutral. If it's better than that, you're just getting extra points. So yeah, that's what a save is. You want Lucas Fabianski if you're looking for that kind of statistic.
So moving on to goals conceded. Basically, this is goals that are allowed in by the goalkeeper. These are only goalkeeper scorings, as Kevin mentioned. They're worth -2 points. If you look at who's let in the most goals this year, look at Crystal Palace. Wayne Hennessy has the most goals allowed this year. So when you're playing a goalkeeper, you want a guy who's going to minimize the goals allowed. I know that's not always his fault, but he's the one who's getting scored here. So at -2 points per goal, and you lose the clean sheet bonus and possibly the win bonus that comes with a lot of these things, it does tend to knock down goalkeepers a lot. So me and Kevin's biggest thing is don't pay for goalkeepers, but in certain situations it does help. But definitely don't pay for Wayne Hennessy right now because he's leading the league in goals conceded at -2 points apiece. It doesn't look pretty. Don't get goals conceded on your roster too much.
Yeah. Clean sheet is also listed under goalkeepers. Important to note that in other formats, midfielders are eligible to get clean sheet points. Not the case in DraftKings. Just defenders and goalkeepers. Goalkeepers get +5, while defenders get +3. Again, clean sheet anytime a team lets in 0 goals is how you get your clean sheet. Currently, Manchester United and David De Gea lead that category.
So wins is kind of linked to clean sheets a little bit, but not completely, because you could still get a win and not get a clean sheet. Mm-hmm. But so at +5, it's another reward for goalkeepers on top of their saves, on top of their clean sheets, and on top of their penalty kick saves, which Kevin's going to tell you about in a second. But wins are wins. It's a team. When the team wins and the goalkeeper is your starting goalkeeper, you get +5 points. So regardless if their team scores more than the other team, you get 5 points.
Yeah, have a free 5 points. You want to target, obviously, players from better teams to do that.
Yeah.
Wrapping up with penalty kick saves, it's anytime, it's just like a normal save, but anytime it's from the penalty spot. So anytime a player is fouled in the box and gets to take a shot at goal, if the keeper saves that penalty shot, they get an extra 3 points. Thus far, Mignolet, Forster, and Schmeichel have already gotten them for Liverpool, Southampton, and Leicester consecutively. You want good shot stoppers. Although Mignolet is not a very good keeper, he is an excellent shot stopper, almost 50% in his career for saving penalties. So look and see who they are. If they have a decent matchup, that's where you want to go. The amalgamation of all of these statistics is get a keeper from a defense that's kind of good so that they keep clean sheets, get wins, and also not that good because you still want them to face shots to pick up those saves for you. But yeah, that wraps up our scoring breakdown for the DFS DraftKings format. We'll be back in later videos to discuss to you what that means and how you should draft teams based on that scoring system. Big thanks to VIP.com, who we do this through. You can find them on YouTube under VIP-bet. I'm your host, Kevin DeVries, at Kevroff on Twitter. Joining me in that box right below me is Rob Langevin, who you can find on Twitter at FPL_MNOP. Hope this helped, and we'll catch you next time.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to ring that bell and receive notifications as soon as we upload some brilliant new content. If you're a sports or eSports enthusiast, make sure you check out www.VIP-bet.com. We have some of the best sports betting deals available on the market, as well as daily free tips. You can also win €1,500 in our exclusive and monthly Tipster Leaderboard. Thanks for watching. Don't forget VIP-bet.com. All sports, your place to win.